Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
My girlfriend was acting like a smartass, so I made her cry and apologize to me and said she learned this shit from TikTok. The next day she woke up and started texting me paragraphs about how bad of a boyfriend I am, and I ignored it again. We didn't talk for that whole day because she knows what I'm gonna answer her with. At that time I was planning to text her the next day sweet stuff like I love you a lot, then the next day ignore her again like she was doing. But she decided to grow up a little bit and text me and apologize. I was in the middle of work at that time, but she said she is really sorry and wants to talk about what she did and fix it, so I left for an early break to talk to her on the phone. She explained why she was doing all this. She said saw multiple videos on TikTok saying stuff like, do you want him to love you more? Text him sweet things one day and next day ignore him, or when he says why did you ignore, tell him did I ignore you? Or was your message not worth replying to? And shit like that, and girls in the comments saying haha my boyfriend loved me more after this. I laughed at her so hard people around me thought I'm crazy. I explained to her how much of an idiot she is for thinking this would ever work in any relationship, and she apologized again. I accepted her apology because it's really nothing big, just wanted her to know what she is doing. I asked her why would she do this anyways? I asked her if she feels that I'm ignoring her or not giving her enough attention or stuff like that, and she said no, just wanted to feel some drama in the relationship. I told her how I was planning to text her a lot next day then ignore her the day after, and she said she kept crying the whole night last night when I used her drama against her. I asked her if she wants more drama, and she said no. So I guess she learned her lesson. Also, to the people who post videos encouraging people to ignore their partners and shit like that, from the bottom of my heart, F you. Apparently booking a seat on a train is not a real booking if someone else decides to sit there. I was traveling from Edinburgh to London by train and had a booked window seat with a table. I got on the train to find 4 guys sitting at the table. The one in my seat that was clearly marked as booked refused to move as he was with his friends and the train was packed. The ticket collector passed and I asked him to help. He asked the guy to move but he refused and somehow that was that. So what now? I asked. You can find another seat but I have no power to move him, only the police and move him and they will not turn up just to move someone out of a seat. There were no seats free in the carriage and probably not many free on the train, so standing in London was a possibility. I'm going to take a seat in first class, better surroundings, power sockets, and free tea and coffee. You can't sit there, you don't have a booking. Well, you could call the police to move me but apparently they won't turn out to move someone out of a seat. I had a lovely trip with power for my laptop and a wide comfy seat. What is an American thing but Americans think everyone outside of America does it? Several things, but keep in mind I compare US to life in Europe. I obviously don't know how it is everywhere in the world, religion dictating so many sides of their life. In Europe, most people don't care about God at all. High school sweethearts marrying. It's pretty rare for couples in high school to be anything else than puppy love with an early expiration date. With it goes their purity thing, or importance of virginity, or even their views on sex. In Europe, sex is good, sex is enjoyed by many, sex is healthy, and we do not control our children's sex life. We educate them to be responsible. Stay-at-home parent, because daycare is too expensive, is almost mandatory for many couple in the US. And with it goes, men having to be breadwinner and providing for their family. From what I see here in Europe, most couple are happy to have both parties work and they pay together for their lifestyle.
What's something you've experienced that most people never will? I got a girl pregnant about 9 years ago, and when I tried to see my daughter she fought me every step of the way. No one believed me when I would tell them what was happening. I recorded every phone call and interaction we had for years. About 4 years ago my daughter was taken from her mother by Department of Human Resources and placed with her grandparents because the mother told them I wasn't in the picture. When I went to DHR and they realized what was going on, they finally placed my daughter with me. After about a month the mother and the grandparents decided they were going to come get my daughter at all cost. The next morning they tore my front door off the hinges, hurt me in my home, and took my daughter out of her bed. After I called the police, a statewide manhunt involving city, county, and the FBI began for my daughter and the 4 family members that broke into my home. They had driven in 2 separate cars and took 2 separate routes away from my home. About 12 hours later all 4 had been arrested and extradited back to the city I live in. Fast forward about 2 years. All 4 of the group are now convicted felons. I now have full custody of my daughter and life is pretty awesome. Definitely a unique experience, I think.
What are underrated websites and what do you use them for? Spotifydown.com. This website allows you to download songs, whole playlists, and albums from Spotify completely for free. I wish more people knew about this website since it's extremely underrated. Remove.bg, http://remove.bg, does a pretty solid job at removing the background of any image. You can even just Ctrl+V. Con, lowers quality a little. Camel.com, https://camelcamelcamel.com, tracks the price history of something on Amazon so you can see if a sale is actually a good deal.
What made you nope out of a friendship?
She invited this guy she was chatting with to come hang out with us one day. She had a long-term boyfriend while I was newly single. This guy and I really hit it off, so we started to spend more time together. When she found out, she got so mad. She told me that I stole my backup guy. Her boyfriend dumped her shortly after and she demanded I stop talking to him so that she could start dating him as she had previously planned, insisting that he was her soulmate. I stopped talking to her instead and so did he. That was 20 years ago and we're still together, 15 years of marriage and 2 kids. Guess he wasn't her soulmate after all. I am 1.5 feet taller than my wife, so when I take a shower I make sure to set the shower head as high as possible. Then when she gets in she can't reach it to lower it and she has to call me in, so I get to see her naked. She has yet to realize that setting is too high for even me. Not that I can't see her naked pretty much any time, but still. It's the little things.
Today my girlfriend of 8 years, who I was about to propose to, told me the truth. Some backstory. Me, 25M, and my girlfriend, Adriana, 24F, have been dating since we were 16 and 17. We met in high school and loved each other ever since. Well, the other day I set up a fancy dinner for us, and I was ready to propose to her, the love of my life. Just as I took her to the hotel room filled with roses and got on my knees and pulled out the box, she stopped me. She then said, "No, I can't marry you, Jimmy, I'm sorry. I have to tell you the truth." Everything went blank for me at that moment. I was shocked, scared, and heartbroken. She told me how she was still in love with her best friend, Ryan, 24M, and that he will always be her first love. They met way before we met, they grew up with each other, they dated multiple times but always broke up because of mutual issues. I met Ryan, I welcomed him since they were still best friends. Just to come to find out, just about all 8 years of our relationship she has loved him. Has compared me to him. And has been sleeping with him. She told me they had a plan that was Ryan would leave his girlfriend and she would leave me with no explanation and they would move to Florida and finally be together. I'm heartbroken. She moved out of our apartment together and moved in with him until they moved down to Florida. Turns out she's 5 weeks pregnant with his baby too. I'm not mad. I just wish I wasn't played out like a fool. I hope they live happily together.
My ex got fat. My ex used to drag me to the gym with him to lift weights and be a fellow dude bro. I hated it so much. It was boring, and back then I had other things to be doing. Ex was strict in a weird way when I did go. I wasn't allowed to listen to music even if I was running by myself. He also wouldn't allow for my lack of ability. I couldn't do a push-up, so instead of me doing knee ones or something else he would instead yell at me until I did one, which never worked because I couldn't do one. Eventually he broke up with by listing all my faults and saying he needed someone who can match his athletic lifestyle. Fair reason, but you don't need to tell me you'll get fatter and uglier with age. 2 years ago we broke up. In between now and then I joined a contact sport club that I really enjoy. I go 5 times a week, 2 hours a session. From this I also found out my ex gym sessions were weak AF. He would spend 45 minutes doing the bare minimum, which considering I never exercised easily impressed me. Today I went into town and saw someone that looked exactly like him, only 300 pounds. I knew it couldn't be him, but there was something uncanny about this man, so I stalked his Instagram. It was him. My ex who broke up with me because I couldn't match up to his gym prowess got fat.
Android fans, what are the primary reasons why you will never ever switch to an iPhone? Competition and flexibility to switch manufacturers with ease. I don't need to be locked into any device if another manufacturer has a better product and innovations down the line, and not being locked into an ecosystem. I have a Windows computer, a Samsung tablet, and a Google phone, and they all work with one another wonderfully. I should clarify that I have many more options by not being in the Apple ecosystem. More phone and tablet. There's someone using your pics pretending to be you. Who? It's at NASA because you're out of this world. May God continue to ignore your prayers the way you ignored me.
What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? When I was 15, my parents were going through a divorce. My mom worked night shifts and my dad was living with a friend of his. One night my sister, who was 19 at the time, came home pretty drunk from a party. She was acting goofy and fell on the couch next to me. She started grabbing my leg and laughing, and we started fondling. We ended up having bonding right there. When we woke up the next day, she had no recollection of the night before, so I just kept my mouth shut. Fast forward to when I'm 18. Sister is home from college and dad is over for a visit. They get into an argument, and in a fit of rage my dad announces how he has never forgiven her for the abortion she got when she was 19 and subsequently killing his grandchild. He's very religious. I then realized the baby she aborted was in fact mine. And as far as I know, I am the only one who knows, since she has never mentioned that night. As a teenager, what was the worst thing your parents ever walked in on you doing? I don't know why I did it. But I was 14 and kinda curious. It was late. I didn't think anybody was gonna come down my hallway, so I left my door wide open. I knelt down to the ground, stuck my tongue out, placed it on the wall, and proceeded to lick the wall from the bottom to as high as I could go standing up. I looked to my left and my dad was just standing there with a big-ass smile on his face. He yells out to my mom, "Yo, this weird-ass kid is licking the wall." I still don't understand why I had the urge to do that. That was a weird night.
Who are the scariest types of people? I know a guy who's a legitimate sociopath. Doesn't give a fuck about anyone. He has friends per se, but they're more just people he keeps around because they benefit him in some way or another. Easily convinced he'd watch someone die without helping if he didn't see himself getting anything out of it. It's actually a trip spending time with him, listening to him talk and seeing how he acts around people. He kinda reminds me of Christian Bale's character from American Psycho. Tall, handsome as fuck, pulls girls like crazy, but he could kill someone if he needed to and not bat an eye. I should mention that he's aware of all of this, doesn't deny it, and actually finds joy in the fact that he's that way. People are drawn to him because of his charisma but don't hang around once they actually get to know him. He couldn't care less. I only met him through a buddy that grew up with him, who no longer hangs out with him either. Hilariously enough, he's in sales and is amazing at it.
When I was in high school I purposely got my girlfriend, now wife, pregnant. We were 17 and in love when our son was born. We had practiced safe sex and she was on birth control and we used condoms. I quit school to work at the steel mill with my dad and provide for my family. At 18 I asked her to marry me and she said yes, and we've been together ever since, 12 years ago now, and have 3 children together. But what she didn't know until recently is that I poked a hole in the condom. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever met and I wanted to be with her forever, and in my fucked up teenage head poking a hole in the condom was the way to ensure she'd be in my life forever. Years later I realized how shitty that was, especially since it worked, so I told her the truth. She laughed and said, "I wasn't ever on birth control." I lied. Then we both laughed. I guess we trapped each other and we're both shitty people. God, I love her.
About to lie to my girlfriend for the first time ever and feeling a little guilty. My last relationship was awful. I'd constantly find myself telling tiny little white lies, otherwise my girlfriend would explode, such as what I'd eaten for lunch that day in case it was slightly unhealthy. I don't have any health issues. Getting pissed off if I'd paid a little too much for something, not in debt and have decent savings. We broke up and I vowed after that to always be completely honest, and up until now I have been. In the 2 years I have been with my girlfriend I have not told a single lie, though it's easy when you don't feel like you're walking on eggshells. However, I've now been forced into a lie. This Friday I will not be going into work like she thinks I am. If she asks how my day was I'll give the standard answers, but the truth is I'll be making a small day trip to the city. When I get to the city I'll be shopping for an engagement ring. I'll tell her the truth afterwards and I'm sure she'll see the funny side, but goddamn do I hate lying to her.